Welcome to the What I Wish I Knew After Pregnancy Loss podcast. I am your host, Shana Southan. I am an angel mum, a rainbow mum, a pregnancy loss practitioner, and trauma-informed coach. I created the Institute of Healing Through Pregnancy Loss out of my own experience with loss in the hopes to provide understanding and healing, educating people on pregnancy loss, and creating more women or men in trained support roles. In this podcast, I hope to shed light on what I wish I knew in relation to pregnancy loss, opening up the conversation, breaking the stigma, and bringing real-life stories plus guest experts. Thank you for being here with me today, and let's dive into today's episode. Welcome, beautiful souls, to the What I Wish I Knew After Pregnancy Loss podcast. Today, I have with me Ilina Gorgievski. Ilina is a participant on the Channel 9 show Big Miracles Season 2. She's had a 9-year fertility journey and is a sufferer of endometriosis. Thank you so much for joining us, Ilina.
Thank you, Shana, for having me. This is just an honorable moment for me. I'm so honored to be on your show. Like, thank you for reaching out. Sorry, a little bit sick, but I think I've got my sexy podcast voice on, so it's working in my favor, I think.
I loved that yesterday with your sexy podcast voice. I'm like, I could just like that husky. Yeah.
Yeah, it just it's like the universe was telling me you're going to be on a podcast. We just chewed you up for that, so it was fun.
Oh, that's too funny. Um, no, it's a pleasure. It was such a nice, we got to meet at the Australian Fertility Summit that was held just recently, and I'm just so grateful that you were open to obviously being on the podcast as well and sharing your story and essentially, allowing others to feel less alone on their journey. And when I look at your social media, I'm like, you're already doing that. You're sort of stepping into that space of just sharing that openly and so authentically. So did you want to share a little bit about, your story and essentially what that takes you up to where you are today?
Yeah, so like I said, it was amazing to meet you at the Australian Fertility Summit. It was that was like a stepping stone for me. We've never done being on a panelist before. We've never done that. So, sitting alongside someone like yourself that's gone through something so similar to what we were going through, it was really nice. Like, as much as I love to share my story, it's nice to hear others feel like we're not alone. We're just not alone in this process. Everyone goes through their own journeys. Everything goes through differently behind closed doors. But basically, 9 years ago, I met my amazing husband. We started dating. Everything was really good, like we weren't trying to have a child. We were, to be fair, we weren't looking after, being safe and looking after ourselves in that way. And we were just like, if the universe wants it, it'll happen. And then, a couple of years later, things didn't go out the way we assumed it was going to go. And we're like, okay, surely after 2 years, something would have given by now. And to be honest, with like, I was starting to feel like pain during sexual intercourse, and I was getting a lot more pain internally. And every time my periods would come, I'd be like, really low back pains, and they started to become really irregular. And I was just like to my husband, I'm like, okay, this is a little bit weird. I've not experienced this before, but let's get this checked out. So we ended up booking in for a gyno appointment, and yeah, so we did a lot of blood test internals, and they potentially, because there was so much of the endo there, they potentially suggested I had endometriosis, but the only way to diagnose it and to look into it was to go under. And yeah, we went under. It was my first time I actually had to go under, like be cut up in that way. Like, I've been under before, but not like very intense surgery like that. So it was really scary, and waking up to that, knowing that I was, diagnosed with endometriosis, it was I was like, I was so I wasn't young. I wouldn't say I wasn't young, but even then, I was just like, "What is it? I don't get it." Like, what, you know? And to be fair, the doctors kind of sugarcoated it. They didn't make it sound like as severe as it should have been. I think it was just they were just trying to make me feel a bit at ease with the process. Going back under, we had to, we had to get surgery, and then we realized that it was chocolate endometriosis. I had multiple endometriosis growing into the one. So it was constantly cutting into those, separating them. And then because there was so many, I had to keep doing back-to-back surgeries. And I think the shocking factor for us was we realized that the endo uh, basically did so much damage to my tubes, and we had to get them removed. And I think it was that moment in time we realized, like, wow, this is the moment that's going to change for us in ways we never thought it was going to change for us. And to be fair, I never thought it in my life I would ever be in that situation like that. I felt like I was born to be a mum. I felt like this was my calling. And in that moment, the world shattered around me. I think it took us a good like 6 to 8 months to finally just come to terms with the fact that we got to remove these. And then we did a lot of research about IVF, and you hear all these miracle stories, and yeah, and it was hard. It was hard to hear at that moment, and making those big decisions about yourself that you don't realize would lead to bigger things later on. It was just that one decision that changed it for us in ways that made it very hard along the way going forward from that decision. So once the tubes were out, reality set in of parenthood being something that was gonna, it was just an arm reach away. Now it's miles away. So, and it was hard. It was very hard to listen to that diagnosis and the damages it caused internally.
I could only imagine. I was diagnosed with endometriosis myself in my mid-20s. I was having a lot of pain, with, having sex and all of
Yeah.
that. And I was like, and a lot of pain with my periods, like you said too, like
Yeah.
lower back pain, but to the point that I was told that I was making it up.
Mm,
They're like, no, no, like you can't be in that much pain. And I'm like, no, I'm in crippling pain. Like this is beyond PMS. This is beyond
yeah.
like what I believe it should feel like. Um, but it was hard to because I don't have a very high pain threshold. So it was hard to
Yeah.
get a lot of people to understand, that there was actually like legitimate pain there.
Yeah, it's just that I just hate when I hear a lot of people say to me, when the doctors accuse you of like you're faking it or it's not as bad. Don't get me wrong, my husband did the same to me. He's like, get over it. It's not as bad. Like it became because the pain was so frequent. It was just like, all right, whatever. Like and then yeah, sometimes the doctors, like I said, they did sugarcoat it a little bit. And it's in my mind, I'm like, I swear I'm not going crazy here. Like, I'm in so much pain that, like, I was seeking medication that, wasn't even prescribed to me. I was just trying to find the best pain killing medication just so I can get by on daily life challenges, just to be able to just get up and go to work without feeling like I've got to take the day off or lose out financially in things in life, just it's so hard. I don't agree. Like the doctors try to do their best, but I don't agree with them sugarcoating it. I'd rather them be like, "Hey, you're in pain. We can see that, and you're not crazy." I think making it look like it's normal made it harder for me mentally.
Yeah, and I feel like that seems to be a common thing. Like it's like, for me in my experience as well, like I would have rather them tell me, okay, this is like on a scale
Mhm.
even. Okay, this is, minimal, this is kind of how it can present, this is worst case scenario. And really acknowledge that, you potentially are going through, something and give you the facts and the figures and the validation that you need in that moment, because I don't know why they sugarcoat it, whether it's like they don't want to scare you, but then again, it's not being completely truthful and honest in terms of like what you're actually experiencing. Um, and I'm sorry that, for your experience, like for you having to go down that path and having to make that decision of, you know, having to get your tubes removed, was it? Like,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, how how were you able then to move forward beyond that? Like, what were then your steps beyond having to get your tubes removed, and how has your journey sort of been shaped since then?
I think it was hard because we started doing a lot of research about IVF, and like, it's so weird. Like, I never heard about IVF. As a child, you're just told you get married, you have kids, it happens naturally. Every woman, that's what you're designed to do, and it just the pieces fall into place, and it just happens. Um, where I was the type of person where I was like, wow, this is not the way I intended this to happen for me. Like, I want to be a mum so bad. And then we started IVF, and then, you're educating yourself constantly on what do they do, how does it work, what am I going to go through? And I don't think you're ever ready. I don't think you're ever ready until you go in and get your consultation done, you get your bloods done. And I think in those moments, my husband kind of realized, like, wow, I didn't realize endometriosis was going to cause you this much pain. And he started to be so understanding and started to believe me in a way. He's like, wow, babe, I'm so sorry. And he was so apologetic of the way he used to just, thought that I was faking it, or he was just more understanding in that process. And when we did go to our first IVF treatment, our first cycle, it was actually during COVID, which was even harder. It wasn't like we could constantly leave the house or talk to family or talk to doctors. You had everything was done virtually. You had to do FaceTime, and you couldn't even go see a proper doctor, and it was so hard. Um, so yeah, but we were lucky. We went into the clinics, we met our doctors, and we started our first IVF treatment, and we postponed our wedding at the same time. So I was trying to balance getting married, restrictions, going through IVF, can't see your family. It was one of the hardest parts of it's actually the hardest time of our fertility. I think we had the worst start to our fertility journey at that moment, because it was just like I felt isolated. I felt like, even though my husband and was there, I just felt so alone. And then doing constant blood tests and them telling you, wow, your endometriosis has caused damage to your bowels now, and it's creeping up into all your other organs, and you're just sitting there in like shock mode, and you're like, but I thought I cleaned it out. I thought it was all going to be better for me. Why is it all happening now? Like, and then the intensity of the fertility rate on with the treatment that we're going through and how it affected me, it's like your success rate is, you know, not as high as others. And then finding out that we had a low egg count too on top of all that, it was just, oh wow, it was so hard. It was so hard. Um, I wasn't prepared to deal with that emotionally. Um, I felt like we were going into something that was just a constant losing battle for us, even just on our first initial session, and then coming home and then researching, arguing. It's like, no, he said this, no, he said that, no, don't overthink it, don't, and you're constantly fighting with your husband, you're trying to prove points across. We haven't even started the bloody process, and we're at each other's throats because we wanted to do the right thing. Um, and yeah, started our cycle, our first ever cycle. And then I believe at the time government opened up restrictions for weddings, the max capacity. So we're like, oh my God, we're going to get married in 3 weeks. Like, it was all happening so quickly. And I believe we had our first egg transfer a week before our wedding day. And, you know, we're just getting married, we're just creating this perfect picture of okay, our wedding's in a week, we just had an egg transfer. Imagine imagine we're pregnant, imagine telling everyone we're married, we did it right. We've got married, we're having a baby, everything's falling into pieces and I mean, into piece. And you just start to have that hope and you're excited. And then, um, again, it all came crashing down on our wedding day. And um, I remember waking up, getting ready, wedding dress is there. I'm getting married today to the love of my life. And I just started bleeding in the morning. And I was like, I got my periods. I'm like, wow, no. And then I'm like, "Nah, there's implementation bleeding. And, trying to psych yourself like, it's all right. We've got this. And you didn't think so much about it. So, um, and then I remember making the call to Nick that very morning and I was just crying. I'm like, babe, I don't think it worked. And he was like, babe, it's okay. We're still getting married. Just think of the positive today. And I didn't even have time to think about a potential loss at that moment because I was so overwhelmed about getting married that 2 days later when we did the blood test and they said that you weren't pregnant. I think the first one, you never forget the first one. Um, it broke me. It actually broke me so much because I was just like, we just got married. We're doing everything right. And the first one hurts the most. Sorry. Because,
Don't apologize.
yeah, you just think to yourself, it shouldn't be that hard, like it should work. I'm still young. Even though we have all these roadblocks, like it should work. It shouldn't be this hard. And then it was back to the clinic, next transfer, next round, next cycle. And yeah, you hope it works on the first go, but unfortunately for us, it wasn't that. It wasn't the case for us in that sense. So yeah, the first cycle I think hurts you the most because you don't know what to expect, and as time goes on, you're just conditioned in a way that you never thought you would be conditioned into overcoming loss and overcoming the challenges that infertility does throw at you. And it's I don't I wish there's someone there that when I was younger to prepare me for this, but there isn't. There's no one out there that could help you with this. It's a personal challenge, a personal endeavor. But I just never thought I'd be one of those people going through that at that time. I just never thought that was me. But yeah.
It's not you know, and I've read it I've read it quite a lot recently, and about I speak a lot about pregnancy loss as being trauma, and I see a lot of reference to infertility being trauma as well. And just hearing your story, I'm like, when you're going through, and this is essentially much like with recurrent losses, stuff like that as well. It's just that um constant sort of that you're trying and it fails, and you're trying and it fails, and that you it almost like it just keeps compounding the emotions, and it keeps compounding that trauma, and you're not really given the space to fully you know go through. And like you said, you never forget that
No.
first moment. um were you able to give yourself space to process, like, or did you feel like it was just like, okay, next, okay, next, okay, next, and you just didn't? I know, I guess at some point you feel like you might have to disconnect, or like you said, you get conditioned to
Yeah.
kind of just go through the process. But were you able to allow those emotions, allow the stuff to come up and go through it?
So I think when you get a phone call and they tell you, it didn't work, yes, you break down, and then you get told, like, we've got another frozen embryo, it- you know, we've got a couple of weeks here. Do you want to go ahead with that? Those questions come up so quickly. They're so supportive in ways too. Like if you need time, like but then when you're sitting there getting all that information, you're just like, well, I don't have time to lose. I need to jump back into it. So as much as you feel like you have that time to grieve, that loss of it not working, you're already like a step ahead of yourself, and you're like, no, no, the next one will work. So you start to go into that in denial process, like, okay, no, the next, we shouldn't be that consumed by this one. Maybe the next would work. So then you go into that next cycle, and you just, again, you reset yourself mentally and be like, okay, positive again. Let's do this. Let's do the injections again. Let's get to the next egg transfer, and we'll come to that process and that hurdle when it happens. And then you get to that process, and then it's a no again. And it's like, okay, all right, that's fine. And you start to lie to yourself. You start to become like, maybe the next one. Then you go into your third one. And then you go into your fourth, fifth, sixth, and you you get to a point where you just turn around and you're just like, okay, well, I'm just gonna keep going until it just happens. And no one prepares you, like, everyone prepares you. You're prepared for the good news, and you're so prepared for, like, hearing that moment. But then when you've gone through so much loss, that turns into normality for you. You start to believe, well, this is what I'm designed to do, is just always fail. And then you start to lose yourself. You start to feel like a failure. You start to feel like everything around you, and whatever, no matter how much effort you put into something, you just know, you feel like everything's just going to crash. And then you become accustomed to that, which is so sad. And it's so hard to just, you forget how to feel happy. You forget to appreciate the good. So you turn into such a negative person, you know um and no one prepares you, and no one would ever prepare you for that. I'm so grateful for my husband, because he does have that light humor, but he also doesn't open up. So I'm always constantly battling, trying to get answers from him to make me feel good about myself, to give me hope. But when you go through it as a couple, it's hard to stay so positive. There are really bad times that you go through behind closed doors that no one ever sees. And the amount of tears you cry, the amount of frustration, the amount of yelling, and sometimes I've ended up in bed for a week. I just can't get out of bed, because I'm just like, I really need this time. That's the way I'm healing. Just let me be, you know. Um, and then you go back to work, and people's like, oh, where was your holiday? And how do you explain to someone? It's like, I wasn't on a holiday. I was in bed suffering ways that I never thought I would be. And you put a smile on your face, and you're like, yeah, the holiday was fun. You're in that in denial process where you don't realize that the world around you, everyone else is so happy, and everyone is all positive, and they don't know that you're breaking inside, but you put on that smile just to keep going. It's really sad. It's really sad that we have to go through that. And there's no there's help now. A lot more people are talking about it, and a lot more people like yourself, and it's so thankful that we've got people like you that can open up about it, that can help people guide. But I feel like at that time when I was going through it, we're talking about 9 years ago, it was different. It was so different. I felt like we didn't have that support. So grateful that we have that support now, but to me it feels like a little too late. But again, I don't think it is too. I think, like, there's people out there that's helped me. And meeting you at the infertility summit was just amazing, because it was just like, wow, I'm so happy that people starting their journeys now, or people going through these losses, have someone to turn to. And I don't think people understand how grateful they've got it, and how good they've got it now. Because back when we were going through it, it was not that case. It was hard.
Yeah, no, it is like, and I remember like parts of what you said as well. I remember that in parts of my journey, especially, with losing your identity. And you also what I found was I started to lose the connection that I had with my husband that was before all of it. Um, before the fertility journey, before the loss journey, because yes, we weren't, like you said at the beginning, you weren't technically trying, but you were like, well, you
Yeah.
weren't actively trying, but you're trying. And
Yeah.
we were the same. And then when it doesn't happen, you start to question it. And then it starts to shift. And then you start to go through the fertility treatments and then it becomes so clinical. Like the relationship becomes, and then one thing I was told at the time was, how do you reconnect back to that love that you had, that spark that you had with your partner before all of that?
Yeah.
How do you do that? And that's what I had to focus on, because yes, there was a lot of fights, a lot of arguments about stupid things that,
Yeah.
maybe that was because he could control that, and that's what he wanted to be able to focus on, because something he could control. But then you're going through your grief and you're going through what, your process, and you're like, how can you even, think about that? And then you feel like you're on two completely different pages.
Mm.
Um,
I feel like I feel like we carry the loss differently,
hmm,
and the journey to what your partner will. It's We're physically going through it. So there's that difference. They don't physically go through it. They're more on the they mentally go through it, where you're physically, mentally, emotionally, you're experiencing everything in the one go, where they've only not even scratched the surface of trying to understand what you're going through. And I feel like as supporting partners, I think they have the most hardest job, because it's trying to understand what you're going through. And they feel helpless. The amount of times my husband turns around and says to me, I feel helpless. I feel like no matter how much I try, I'm doing the wrong thing. And it's just as simple as communication. That's what I'm just going to say. It's just simple communication. I don't need you to hold my hand. I don't need you to feel like you have to pick me up and carry me through life. I just need you to tell me I'm doing a great job. I just need you to tell me it's okay that you're feeling the way you are, and I'll give you your space. It's okay that it's not your fault that this is happening. We can't control what you're going through, because you do put so much pressure on yourself, and it's him trying to control the environment around you. It's more than rather him focusing that energy on you. It's just focus, like, take the pressure off me telling the parents, take the pressure of me, people asking me that question. If you can handle that for me, then you've done your job. You've done so much more than you'd ever intended for me. And I think that's what it comes down to, knowing that they can control, if they can't control what you're going through, but they can control the environment around you. That's the best part. That's the best advice I could give out there for them, supporting partners out there that have that partner going for infertility and going through that, is just support that environment around you. Just customize it to fit what you're going through at the time. And that's the best support.
One in 4 pregnancies will result in miscarriage. 1 in 8 women will experience infertility. 1 in 100 women will experience recurrent miscarriage. And 1 in 160 births end in stillbirth. Have you been wanting to make a difference in the lives of women or men who have experienced pregnancy loss because you can see so many suffering in silence, but you just don't know how? Collectively, we can change how bereaved parents can access mental, physical, and emotional support after their experience. There is a lot of women with unhealed trauma, and there is a huge gap in the current support system when it comes to bereaved parents' recovery after loss. There are too many women and men suffering in silence. The Pregnancy Loss Practitioner Certification is a worldwide, one-of-a-kind program that gives you proven methods designed for healthcare professionals, medical staff, midwives, nurses, doulas, birth workers, coaches, and angel parents alike. The Pregnancy Loss Practitioner Certification is bridging that gap. It will give you a proven support structure to follow and education specific to pregnancy loss, created by a lost mum. It is creating more education specifically for loss so that you can enhance your service and become the point of difference. Or you can create the support that you so desperately needed in your healing after loss. This is the next level of growth and expansion you have been searching for. So does this sound like something that you have been searching for? Let's explore this more together. You can head to the episode show notes where you'll find the program application, or direct message me on Instagram and let's open up the conversation in how you can use this education. You have a gift, and I look forward to supporting you and witnessing you bring your gift to the world, healing and transforming women's lives. Yeah, absolutely. 100% back you on that, because that's always been my, when people ask me about, how do you like navigate that your relationship afterwards? And I'm like, it comes down to communication, being able to, and it doesn't even need to be like, you're not having to step into knowing what the person is feeling or knowing, you don't have to feel that. But just like you said, there's certain things, in the environment or, place something around the house that they could do. There are chores or, things that they could take care of that would help you. And, just to be heard, just to have someone listen to you. And like the other person doesn't need to say anything, but just to have someone to go, okay, this is a safe place for us to express what we need on both sides. And even if it's just one person talking in that moment, then that's okay. If both of you have things that you need to say, then that's great. But definitely open that communication, because I think that's where a lot of people get scared, because they're like, oh, I don't know what to say, or if I say something, it might make it worse. But just having that non-judgmental space and going, what do you need? What can I do? And
Yeah.
asking those questions, and from both sides, like for us as the woman to do that for them as well, because we want to be in it together. We don't want to feel like you're at each other's throats like all of the time.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
want that partner. You need you need both of you to be lifting and supporting each other throughout that whole thing, because like you said before, the men go through it so differently. And sometimes that can be the cause of arguments, is like you don't feel the same way, or you're not grieving the same way. And just to have that communication is so key. And I think that can be also the place of breakdown,
Yeah.
huge breakdown.
I think what people don't understand at the time, when with your partner, like, there is a boundary that you can push them so far away that there's no chance of them returning. And it's just finding that balance in a relationship. When you go through something like this, it's just understanding each other's boundaries. And like I said, communication is that number one key. If you can't communicate in that sense, you might push them that far away that they'll leave. And that just comes down to knowing your partner, and knowing, like, I'm forever grateful for my husband. I love Nick dearly, and we've just been so open about it. At the beginning, don't get me wrong, at the beginning it was teething stages. It's like having a child. It's you're still learning on how to adapt and how to, baby step your way through this. And then when you become professionals in the process, that you've done it so many times, that you just know. Now we just look at each other and we just know. That's it. It's an like, it's so weird that how it happens. It's just, someone will say something in the background and my husband knows to jump in at that moment and be like, hey guys, it just, lightens that mood up because he knows I'm either going to start crying or I might bite back, or he just knows now. And it just comes with time of practice too. You just, yeah, it is a process. It's not easy. And I'm not saying, people got it down pack first go. It took us a long time to get to where we are. Now we're back to having date nights. Now we're back to, eating dinner and having dinner nights, just us two, and sitting in bed, and it's just something as simple as scratching his back, having that, little things like that. It's just, we're at a really good place in our lives now, but it took us a long time to get there. Like, it wasn't an easy path to go down, but so grateful that we are where we are at this moment. And it makes going through infertility, or, the good news, or the best things in life that come your way, it makes those moments so much more special.
Yeah, and I like that you said that it's about baby steps, because it absolutely is. It's not something that happens overnight. It's not something, because you're not ever really taught how to communicate in those moments with these big, navigating big emotions and big thoughts and, big experiences. Like, we're not taught how to do that. We're taught how to, have general day-to-day conversations. Hey, how's the weather? And,
Yeah.
like, pretty surface level stuff. But,
Yeah.
these conversations are deep. Like, they have to go below the surface, and you're not really taught how to do that. So yes, it absolutely is baby steps, and we can't put that expectation on ourselves or on our partner to know, how to have those conversations, or know what we should be feeling, or why we're reacting that way straight away. But like you said, it takes practice, and it takes patience and commitment from both of you to that end goal. Like, if you want to stay together, these are the things that you have to be able to do, and it can make you so much stronger as a couple, and so much more resilient. And you get to know each other in a completely different way than what you ever intended.
Oh, it's how do I say it's like a reward at the end of it all. Honestly, you don't like, people will go through years of commitment to get to where we are in such a short amount of time. And that's just going through a traumatic experience together. And like you said, it's not just like an everyday thing. Hey, how's your day? How was work? It was big decisions. It was like, well, what do we do from here now? Are we going into this path? Are we going into surrogacy? Are we doing donor egging? Are we doing adoption? Are we doing another cycle? Those big life-changing decisions happen. And my husband's 6 years younger than me. So he's so much more younger in the process. He's had to grow up very quickly, like very, very quickly. And I'm so proud of him. He's become a man that I never thought, like, when we started dating, he was 22 at the time. And I don't like, he was, in my mind, I'm like, you're still an adolescent. Like, you don't get it. You just don't, like, I was 28. So I was already like, I want a family. I want to commit. I want a marriage. I wanted those things. And my biggest fear was he was never going to grow up for me. But I'm so impressed of just communication, and just him taking it on board and just being the man he is today because of what we're going through. And not once has he ever thought about running away. It's there are people, it can get so hard that people decide to run away from the problems. In our case, and many cases out there, it made us so much more stronger. We, when people say till death do us part, I did not ever imagine that I will have that person literally for those moments in life that's going to be there. And it does come to the people around you also, and the love, the support. As much as you feel isolated, if you can draw, it's like what my husband says, like a little drug. Like, if you get that person's happiness there and that support there, it builds you up also. And as much as you feel like it's just you and him, the right people around you can also make the biggest difference.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Having that right support and knowing who those people are, really understanding who those people are. And it's also okay to give yourself permission to step away from the people who aren't that support. Not that you ever have to cut ties. It's just you step back and you spend, less time with them, and you spend more time with the ones that can nourish you and support you and give you what you need in those moments so that you can, like you said, build yourself back up.
And in a sense, when you say it like that, like you do feel a bit selfish. It's like you're not using that. I don't want it to come across like you feel like you're using that person. It's not that. As a person, I think people know if they're making a difference in someone's life for the better. And I think if you're that person that wants to support someone going through this, you're doing so much more than you expect. You don't understand just a little thing like taking them out to lunch and just making them feel like infertility or endometriosis or loss, if it like, miscarriaging or losing, everything like that, it just makes them feel like I can still be normal. You know, it's little things that someone that will do something so simple that can make the difference in every way possible in your life at that specific moment, and it will guide you through the right path. And it's not like you're using them or you're feeling selfish that you're taking their time. A lot of the time with the right people around you, they know that their time is so valuable to you, and it's so nice, like you said, having the right people around you.
Yeah. And it's always like in every conversation I've had, it's always about creating that community. People that you can openly talk to about your experience, people who don't judge you, people who support you. Um, and there will be different people for different things that you need. And if it is to go out for lunch, there'll be a person for that. If it is someone to have those D&Ms with, there's a person for that. And you know who that is, and that person is very open and willing to have and be that person for you. They're not going to be then turning around going, oh my gosh, she's just like whinging on my shoulder all of the time.
Yeah.
And because there are those people too. And if that's the person that you're confiding in, maybe that's not the right person. Maybe finding someone else that can actually be with you and witness you and just be okay with, what you're saying. And if it is one-sided, then that's completely okay. But if it goes both ways, if you can have a conversation about it, then it can help you in your healing process as well, being able to just get it, off your chest.
Yeah. Yeah, it's you're right. It's amazing how humans and how people can contribute to who you are and define you as a person. Some people can make you, and some people can really break you. And it's that balance.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything else you wanted to share before we wrap up for today? I could keep speaking to you forever, but
Yes, same. I can actually, I really enjoy this. It's been, to be honest, it's been amazing to be around people like yourself, and opening up and not feel like I'm being judged, and not feeling like what I'm going to say is going to hurt someone's feelings, or this is my journey, this is how I'm feeling, and this is how I'm expressing myself. And I'm so thankful, like going through this, and just knowing that you've just simply just reaching out, and just I remember just meeting you, and you had this beautiful aura around you, and you're just like, I'm here to help. you know it was just those simple words that really started up a beautiful relationship. And it I don't take that lightly, honestly. And being on the show, it's opened up doors in many ways, as in meeting people like yourself. I'm not here, me personally, I'm not here, it's not about fame, or it's not about this, it's really generally helping people. um I don't know where to start. Sometimes I have these moments, but I've had so many people reach out, they just want to talk to me just about their journey. I hear a lot of people come to me and be like, I'm so proud of you. You give me strength. And what you're doing, you probably don't realize that, but it helps a lot of other people. And I just want to tell people that it's okay. Honestly, it's okay to feel like there's days where you're going to be alone, and there's days where you're going to be good and bad, but there's people like us out there that want to help. Just pick up the phone, text, just ask for help. You're not weak.
Mm.
It doesn't make you weaker. It just actually makes you so much more stronger. And we're probably one of the people that will understand them more than their own family or friends. And it's just nice. I'm forever grateful for how people are like you around now. Like, if I had you back 9 years ago, it'd be such a different journey. And we're just more aware of it now. And it's been so amazing to hear people's journeys. And thank you so much for being so vulnerable on your side. I remember hearing your story on stage at the fertility summit, and, it breaks you. You just think to yourself, wow, like, you're here today using the most weakest point of your time and using it to help others. It takes a strong person, Shana, and I really appreciate that.
Oh, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
I don't know what to say now. You've left me speechless.
Oh,
Um, but it was,
speechless.
yeah, and I absolutely agree. If I could have been there for you 9 years ago, I would have. If I had my experience was in 2017, and if I could have been there if I had someone like me back then, it would have been different for me too.
Yeah.
And like you said, over the years, it's becoming, people are being able to talk about it more. It's becoming, more, more, accepted, but it's still such a long way to go. And that's why, having the fertility summit was so beautiful. And then the fact that, and I was like Instagram stalking you, and and you didn't judge me. So
No, it's vice versa. Like, Liz was amazing to put that on for us. She was great just for her to reach out and, networking is the biggest key. But at the same time, like, we're here to help. I'm not a professional. I'm not, but if someone feels like they need to pick up the phone and call yourself or myself and just to talk, it's okay. It's
Mm.
really okay. We're here to make the difference. And if it's a good difference, then, we're just like everyone. We're humans.
Yeah.
We've lost, we've been happy, we've gone through it all. You know, it's just nice to have people around that help us.
Yeah, so true. And in saying that, where can people find you?
Oh, just socials at this stage. I am looking at, opening ways to help others. Been brainstorming behind closed doors, and just, it's hard because, like, Instagram, you can find me on Facebook. I'm on TikTok now, Ilina Gorgievski. So just follow me, just reach out, like, at the moment, you know, I do believe, I was on Big Miracles, season 2. Potentially there might be a season 3 coming out. I'm not inclined to say, but, like, at the end of the day, we're here to share our story, and if it means helping someone bring up some strength on them and making them feel like they're not alone, that's where I am. If you just want to reach out and just have a talk, I'm happy to talk. I've had a few people come through, and I've just given them my personal number, just like, call me anytime. And, I'm happy to help in ways that I never thought I'd return the favor to someone like that. So it's opened up amazing doors, and I've met amazing people like yourself. So I'm forever grateful. Honestly, I feel like I'm surrounded with so much support that I never thought I would have possible. So, Shana, thank you. Like, this is my first podcast, guys. So, I'm so grateful that it's with you. So I can always look back and go, yes, Shana was the first podcast, and it was one of my best ones. So thank you so much.
Oh, you're so welcome. I love it. I've loved everything that you have been able to share, and you've given so much value and obviously so much of your personal story. So thank you for being here and sharing so openly. I truly appreciate you, and I have loved getting to meet you and loved watching you on socials. So definitely, if anyone is out there looking for someone who has, that lived experience and is open to talking about it, definitely reach out. Um, Reach out and open the conversation.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Sean. I really appreciate it, honestly. Like, yeah, I'm forever thankful. I say it so many times, but I'm forever thankful for this. It's been amazing.
You're so welcome. And I'm grateful that I've been able to be the first podcast for you too. So it's definitely a memorable moment.
Oh, thank you. I mean, like hang it on like an award thing on my wall. So I'm like the first podcast. So it's beautiful. It's been amazing, and you've made me feel like so comfortable throughout the process, and it feels like I'm talking to my best friend. It's just you're such an ease to talk to. So thank you very much.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you to all that have listened in. If this episode was valuable to you, I invite you to leave a review on Apple Podcasts, and I look forward to supporting you on the next episode. Thank you for listening in with me today. I hope you found this episode helpful. If you did, I would absolutely love to hear from you. Take a screenshot of this episode, share it to social media, and tag me at Institute of Healing _PL. I love seeing what is resonating with you right now. If you want to chat further, I invite you to connect with me through Instagram. Head over and follow my Instagram account, send me a DM, and let's open the communication. If you want to know more about how you can be the support for others, head to the show notes and fill out the application form for the Pregnancy Loss Practitioner certification. I want to also note here that what I share within the episodes is not medical advice. If you need further support, please consult your doctor. Thank you again. Much love to you. Be gentle with yourself, and I look forward to supporting you on the next episode.